Hello, great that you're tuning in. I've been wanting to share some experiences that I've had lately with voice and breath work. I've been working with a voice and breath coach for just over half a year now. And as a yoga therapist and as a person who's been working a lot on myself, on my body, and how everything works, and finding relationships and working on tensions that are in my body and everything, this voice work has been kind of almost an unexpected but super profound practice. It's kind of like, after doing all the yoga therapy, part of it was a voice workshop, and in there I really noticed and realized and experienced the profound effect it has to work with the voice in general, but also in relation to movement practice. Especially in yoga practice, we tend to not do that much use of the voice, which is fine because that's just how it's been practiced. But adding voice to it and breath to it, I mean, we do breath, but it tends to be quite a controlled, or a pranayama, or kind of a practice instead of, as I've learned through yoga therapy, is experiencing the voice, experiencing the breath, and experiencing that in relation to the rest of the body. So the voice and breath work, especially like the breath part of the work that I've been doing, it's not like breath work as you hear it these days a lot, like all that intense breath work. In my experience, intense breath work is I've practiced a bit of that as well, but it's more sensing the breath. Where is the breath going, and how does it influence the rest of the body, and how am I actually breathing in different situations, as I'm resting, as I'm talking, as I'm doing something physical, because these all have different ways of breathing. And it's been really interesting to find out that I wasn't breathing wrong, but it could be better. So learning about how actually the breath is and voice, it's focused on the throat area, because here is the larynx, and that needs to move to be able to make sound. But then in order to be able to speak, we also need the breath. So it is also related to, can we breathe? Do our ribs expand, and do they have the ability to expand? Does our diaphragm has mobility? Does our pelvic floor support that? And it actually goes all the way down to the feet. Is there enough grounding through the feet to be able to support the whole structure, to allow this area to express itself? In the end, movement is a way to express yourself, but the voice is another way to express yourself. And communication, speaking up, all that, never really my strong suit. I'm getting a lot better at it over the years, over all the work that I've been doing. But noticing how incredibly linked the breath is to the rest of the body. So how breath is, especially for me in yoga therapy, like a really essential part of the practice, or it has become a really essential part of the practice, because as it's working on this, on like the central stability of the body, the sense of grounding, the spaciousness of breath, that container of breath, which is the deepest core muscles that allow for that expansion and that contraction. My understanding has always kind of been like, you inhale, it's a doing, and you exhale, it's a letting go, because it's kind of like exhale and relax. So for me, exhale and relax was an exhale, and it's not active. While as we speak, in order to make noise, to make sound, there is a contraction happening. There is a resistance in the throat, in the larynx, to push the air through to make noise. So there needs to be a contraction as we exhale and as we speak and as we voice and as we make sound. Without that activation, there's not going to be any sound. So to see the exhale as actually an active part of breathing, and then as I'm talking and then I'm out of air, the relaxation is the inhale, is the relaxation of the center of the body, and so the air gets sucked in. And for me, that was almost a new experience. I've had the practice of exhaling deeply and then letting that go, and so the breath comes in, which always has been a very helpful practice to deepen the breath. Sometimes it's like, yeah, you need to take a deeper breath in, but then just starting from that point of like a neutral space and then taking a deeper breath is a very active thing, and it kind of has a limit, and it's very, to me, it almost kind of feels like a constricted expansion. I don't know if that makes sense. But then as you fully exhale and you kind of squeeze the air out till there's not much left, without like really forcing it, but like feeling that you press the air out, and then you let that go, then the expansion kind of automatically happens, and the breath, in my experience, can be much deeper. So I invite you to give that a go, like to fully exhale, feeling the belly contract, and letting that go. And then kind of taking that over to expand a little bit more. So then you can feel maybe how there's more space to breathe. And so as this breathing is related to the voice and actually related to the whole body, it's been for me a very interesting exploration, in that the thing that needs to happen and needs to move, and you can actually see it really well in my throat. So when I relax and I'll make a little noise, and if you look at my throat here, you can already see it a bit. You can see how something here, how the larynx here needs to be able to move. If it's not able to move, and you still want to talk, which we usually want, so if there's tension in the throat for whatever reason, for not being able to express yourself, for being choked up, for being insecure, anxious, name it, you might hold tension here to prevent yourself from speaking, even if you maybe don't want to, but yeah, you just don't feel safe enough to express yourself, which can happen, obviously. So I'll make the noise, and then you can watch my throat. So it's like, so you can see that there's like two parts that are kind of moving and are separating and are sliding up and down. And so if that mobility here is not available or limited, and your body, as it does, supports you in making noise and sound anyway, it might get take tension in other, or create tension in other areas to allow you to make that noise. So a lot of people have tension in the shoulders, tension in the neck, headaches, tension in the belly. I'm a tension in the belly person. Name it. You can have tension anywhere, and nothing wrong with tension anywhere, because it's your body's way to support you in doing what you do. But if that tension kind of sticks around and it creates at some point pain and discomfort and prevents you from doing what you enjoy, then that is something that is worth looking at if you feel up to it. And so my experience has been with working with the voice that freeing this up has freed up or has connected me more also with my belly, with the tension I feel in my belly. It's not gone, but my relationship to it is different. Sensing my pelvic floor, how that supports with the diaphragm, how the inner core muscles are better responding to my demand when I'm speaking, so that it's not my whole kind of upper body kind of gripping to squeeze out the air and to talk and to be a little monotonous in my voice and kind of like this and but to be able to be a little bit more soft and have a little bit more movement in my voice, because I now have more ability to move in my throat, which then creates a support from the inside out, so that the compensatory tensions that I might have can soften, as I've also before explained with yoga therapy, that if you want to move your leg and move that in relationship to the pelvis, then in order for that to happen, like it might be that as you move the leg, the pelvis gets dragged along, and you're doing something else than just moving the leg and the pelvis, because there's just tension and compensation to hold it together. And as soon as you can sense that and you practice movements and it can let go and it becomes more pure, the movement, it's the same with the voice. It's pure movement that I have now than I had before, which allows for more freedom of movement, which allows other areas of my body to soften and to let go, because the support that I created for many reasons isn't necessary anymore. There is this stability or more stability from within to support free movement of my voice, of my breath to happen. So that has been and still is, because I'm still going on with my voice and breath coach, because it's such amazing work that I felt like I wanted to say something specific about that, and especially in relation to yoga therapy, because as I said, in yoga we don't do that much with the voice, and I really think it's a missed opportunity, because it's such profound work. You really go to the core of your being, to the pelvic floor, to the diaphragm, to the movement of the ribs, to the breath. I think that needs to be shared more. So here I am, sharing it a bit more, also in individual sessions, and I'm also incorporating it more in group sessions, in whatever I share, because it needs to be shared. So I hope you're taking something away from this, and I hope that it might have piqued your interest to kind of just explore your own voice, your own breath, and work at it as from my yoga therapy point of view, from a subtle place, from a soft place, because in the end, also with voice work, there is a place for the breath work, the intense breath work, because sometimes we're super stuck and it breaks through something and we feel amazing, and that's great. And then how can we, from there, wherever we are basically, how can we also nourish the subtle? Because the big we can do, and it's the same with yoga therapy, big movements we can do because our body like that immediately enters into compensation. How can we, instead of doing movement quickly, which, this looks fine, but if we would do it like this, like way slower, and maybe not even like stretching the whole arm, but maybe just lifting up the shoulder, can we sense that? And is that a fluid movement, or is it kind of like shaky, like, oh, where's that going? And that's kind of where the brain and the muscles and the nervous system are just kind of like, I don't know. I don't know how to do this, which is fine. And but then when we make the movement quickly, it's like, oh, this is going well. But if we are able to make the small and subtle movements, then we will also be able to make the big movements. If we're able to make the big movements, it doesn't mean that we're able to make the small movements. So if we want to work on sensing our bodies, on calming the nervous system, to get a better connection between the body, between the mind, the brain, basically, the brain and the body, so that they can work better together, then these subtle layers of work, the small movements, the voice work, the breath work, in a very gentle sense, are, in my opinion and in my experience, are life-changing, basically. They can have such a great impact, and it's about doing less, about stopping, which in this society is not the easiest thing. I also know all about that. So yeah, to learn to do less, pay more attention to what you're doing, and to be able from there live a more embodied life, understanding, being able to listen to your body better, because you feel more, you understand more, and when you do, also in my experience, there's just more peace of mind, peace in your body, more relaxation. You understand what's going on, your nervous system can relax, and that just makes life nicer. So yeah, I hope I've inspired you a little bit with this conversation, with this explanation. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions. If you would like to know more, then we can definitely talk about that. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you at some point. I hope you have a really nice day, and take care.